All right, so welcome everyone to the Writing Relations Talking Circle on Stories and Gender-Based Violence. Really excited to have this wonderful panel for this wonderful group of folks here to reflect on stories and gender-based violence in sort of a couple of different ways. So my name is Ali Crockford and I'm the National Coordinator for Writing Relations, and I'm going to be facilitating the circle this afternoon. And I'm just going to take a moment to introduce our panelists a little bit and sort of outline what we're hoping to do this afternoon, and then we'll get started. Before I do, just a quick technical note. I'm having some problems with my internet, so if I freeze or you're having trouble hearing me at any point, let me know in the chat, just because on my end, the video is very lagged, very slow. So the hope today, or the goal today, is to bring folks together and reflect on the idea of stories and the role that they have in the world of gender-based violence. So whether that's supporting survivors or supporting folks who have harmed through gender-based violence, or advocacy, activism, all those different pieces. And when we think about stories, sort of trying to think not only of the individual stories of folks who've been impacted by sexual and gender-based violence, but also some of the stories that we hear in different cultures, maybe growing up, things that we've heard or that we carry with us through song, through play, through poems, that might carry some impact or teachings when we think about things like consent or healing from gender-based violence, or how to challenge rape culture in the world that we currently live in. So that's our goal for this afternoon. And the way that we're going to approach this is we will have a circle where the panelists will be able to speak a little bit about themselves and just sort of reflect a little bit on kind of the work that they do and what their connection is. And then we'll do a couple more circles, just sort of going around with some prompt questions. So we have with us today Mirta Rivera. So Mirta is an activist born in Santiago, Chile, where she had to leave due to a military coup in 1973 and ended up in Saskatchewan as a political refugee in 1975. She is an organizer and an activist in the Chilean community, the arts communities, women's community, and the 2S LGBTQ+ community. She's a singer, a musician, a political activist, writer, animal lover, mother of 2 grown sons, and she and her compañera began the relationship in 1989, lobbied for LGBT rights, including the right to marry, and married in 2010. So we're very grateful to have Mirta here with us today. We also have Najia Ziveri. And Najia is the peer leader at the Women's Wellness Cafe in Toronto. There we go. There it is. And co-founder of the Women's Cycling Network. She's also the founder of the Global Women's Network, a former UN International Women's Rights worker, and leader of the Afghan Women's Network. And she's a longtime member of Writing Relations National Network and Toronto Circle, and sits on the Central Hub Advisory Board. And we also have 3 wonderful representatives from the New Leaf program from Pictou, Nova Scotia. So we have Heather and Paula and Bree with us. And New Leaf offers a comprehensive program to men who have abused their partners. Their mission is to provide an opportunity for men to take responsibility for their abusive behavior and affect social change so that the underlying power imbalances no longer exist. They're grounded in the belief that attitudes and behaviors can be changed through connection and support of other men who are working towards accountability. And they seek to provide that support to mentor men to ensure real long-term change in their attitudes and behaviors towards women, as well as their perception of themselves. So they're doing really, really amazing and essential work. that is not often seen in the world of gender-based violence. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to our panelists, to our I'll call you panelists, to talk a little bit more about yourselves and your work and how it relates to gender-based violence. And I think if it's okay, we'll just sort of start. I'm just thinking we'll just sort of do clockwise from my screen. So we'll start with Mirta, and then we can have Bree and Paula and Heather and Nadia as our circle. So Mirta, I will pass it to you. Please take it away.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me. And for me, I grew up in a culture that is the Latino culture that is really macho oriented, and I was I was really growing into not liking certain things that I was told that I needed to be. And I watch around me that most of the young women, we were always getting together and trying to protect each other from not being harassed. It was really normalized that you will get catcalls on the street, even at the young age of 11 or 12, that you will have to um, we believe that anywhere we go, we have to dress up really nice because we feel good. But then again, we were perceived as being calling for all this attention, that it was really sexualized. So I learned that when I was in school that some of the girls were not really happy, and I didn't know why because it was a secret. And then I started realizing that these young women were um, part of being in a family that it was incestuous, that they were also attacked by somebody they knew. And I felt really afraid of growing in a world that being a girl, being a woman, I have to be all the time with my guard up and feel that I needed protection. Um, I saw a lot of violence, that it was okay for partners, for the husband to hit the wife, and it was okay. And the time that I was growing up, that children needed to be taught by being spanked and hit. I'm product of one of those children. So because it was that was the norm, and nobody will say anything. And if we go back now and we see this, we go, oh my God, these people are criminals. Yeah, they were. Um, so for me, it got ingrained in me that we needed to stick together as women, and we needed to start doing a work that it will protect us, the work that we needed to be together and learn how to defend ourselves, how to protect ourselves. Uh, I came to Canada, and I came as a political refugee. I was in jail. I was tortured. I was also raped in there. Those are things that I seldom talk about it because those are things that happened to me. Isn't They are not who I am. And here in Regina, I got involved with the women's community, and the reason that I was involved with the sexual assault center, it was because the young woman who was visiting her family, she was sexually assaulted by her own brother, and she didn't speak the language. So I was translating in the community, and I was not trained in what to say, what to do. But then when we got to the hospital, the woman who was there, a nurse, knew somebody who was in the sexual assault line, and she said, "You've been trained." I go, "No, I haven't. I'm just supporting and translating." And that's another thing, that when you don't know the language, you don't know where to go. You don't know where to get the help. So then I started helping as much as possible and paying attention that being a translator, being an interpreter is really powerful. because it depends on what the perception of that person was translating will interpret the story. And some women are not believed. The first thing that I learned was that when you tell somebody, especially in a culture like mine, you're not believed. Oh, you're making up stories, you want attention and things like that. That's what I was told. So I got involved, and they offered me the training, and I was there for 41 years. So as they call it, we're called advocates. So I retired, and I still help. I'm not officially on call. I'm not officially doing the work, but I still see, and I cannot sit there. I cannot sit there and say, well, too bad, I'm not doing it. Um, I think that in general around the world, it's the mentality, that's the culture, the rape culture, that we're there for men to take advantage and to use their power over us. There are also women who sexually abuse, and also women who use this power against us and against boys. Um, I think that the reason that this it needs to stop somehow. We need to find a way that we're not gonna talk anymore. How are you gonna help the women? And I hate the term victim, because we're survivors. We're not victims. We're all not the victim that we were at that moment. That was something that we survived the best we could at the moment. Um, and we need to, I also think that we as women, we give life, we are mothers, and it's in our hands to create a generation of men who don't believe that they have that right, that inherent right, or that's how they show uh, the that's the way that they show is to be a man. A man protect women, a man love women, men don't hit women, they don't assault them, and they make sure that they respect them. And that's how I raised my two sons. So I think I created two good people that they get in trouble because they've been told they feel too much, they think too much, and they talk about their feelings. So there's something wrong about you. What they tell them. But I don't. I think that we can change this. I think that we have it in our hands as women to work together with the men. That this culture needs to change. I'm talking about culture around the world. I'm not talking only about my culture, because um, it crosses boundaries. It is not only one sector of the population, not one race, not one religion. It's all over. Yeah, and I will say that it breaks my heart now that we are seeing what is going on in Gaza, how those women are surviving and how those women are being brutalized, and the children too. So that's how we show that we have power over somebody else. And those are the first people who get attacked, who get um, hurt in times of war. So that's another thing that we need to look at. In times of war, that's what happened to women and children. And you don't stop the war with another war. That is something that we need to, as a human kind, we need to realize that that's not the way. I'm going to stop there right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirta, and I feel like you so beautifully led into the folks from New Leaf, so I'll pass it over to you.
Hello, my name is Heather, and I work at New Leaf, and I'm the parenting service facilitator here. And I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Paula Jarwa. I work here as a facilitator, co-facilitator, and counselor. I worked here, I think, for 4 years, but I worked for 14 years at the shelter for abused women. So it's very different. to come from there to come to here and work with the men. Anyway.
I'm Bree. I'm a student at Nova Scotia Community College, and I'm here for a 4-week work term. So I'm learning a lot while being here. I think the ladies that work here are so fantastic, and I'm getting to co-facilitate groups and really become hands-on with the guys, and it's really inspirational.
And I think just relating back to what Myrta said about changing the generation and changing how society views men and boys, because primarily the men we work with are white, and so it's ingrained in from when they were little. So yeah, we're trying to teach them how to learn about talking about their feelings and just kind of undoing what they've learned when they were small. So yeah, do you want to add anything, Paula?
And just the privilege and entitlement that they're not even aware of. They have it, they think they have it, but they're not aware of how they use it. And breaking that down, and like our bottom line is that we work with men who are looking to develop and maintain healthy relationships. And we see magic happen here. Like we see guys figure it out. And that's amazing.
Good. Okay, we'll pass it along now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hope that we hear more about the work that you do throughout the circle, because I really think it's incredible. And I know from my own experience working in the fields of gender-based violence that the kind of unique sense of frustration when you have someone reach out who is looking to change and there are no resources available to support them on that journey. So just really
We're the longest running men's program in Canada.
wow.
It started out with a couple of fellas that just seen a gap and invited them into their basements and to start doing group and talking to them and teaching men to talk. And it's just amazing to watch this happen.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Nadia, pass it to you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the invitation. I'm so happy to share my experience, and most of the things Martha shared is resonated with my cultural background. That the country I came, it is almost the same. Macho country, very, very like red line division between the men and women. So if you're a woman, this is your place in the home, and then in the society, and then definitely it has another element of social life of women is another challenge. And at least for last 40 years, the country going through the unwanted war and invasion by different superpowers. And this put the women condition in a very bad spot, and they are like tripled the being a woman living in that country that already, as I said, it is a red line. You are a woman, so your place is at home. You are not allowed to enjoy all the rights as a other man enjoying, the poverty, and then the war. And then this war create an environment that further restrict the mobility of women. And if you are not mobile, if you are not allowed to see what is going around and confined inside the home, then you're much more vulnerable. So my experience working almost 30 years with civil society, with women organizations, and also with a government, as well as with United Nations UN Women Office. So we try to like shake, or as you say, change the status quo that exists, but still it creates more challenging environment for women. So it was not easy. So now you are speaking about violence. I can share you like this is another storytelling. We are telling a story. I remember when for the first time we organized a consultation session among all different players by the like from government, from the donors and for non-for-profit organization, all of them, they came together to discuss about violence against women. And then at that, we also invited police or attorney officers and others to be in the discussion. And at the beginning said, no, there is no violence against women in this country. Like everything is perfect. Nobody come and complain. And then we moved the discussion toward like, are you sure it is like this? And then we asked them, if a man come and complain that my brother beat me, or like my brother hurt me, or I got like a scratch on my body because of my brother. So what is your reaction? So this is we implement the law of the country, and we see and analyze the problem and so on. And then we said, all the women are coming. They said very few. And then we asked them how you deal with the woman case. And they said we send them back to do the consultation and mediation. And they are not charging any man in a formal system for beaten women, for domestic violence, starting from domestic violence. So this was the first time they acknowledged that the women and men, based on their sex, was treated differently, even with the same problem. Even broken hand of woman was treated like it is their family affairs. We should not take any, we should not interfere to their domestic or family related things. So the country or the culture I'm coming, like the country is Afghanistan I'm talking about, and very popular nowadays about Taliban and other things, that they are there and they are doing a systematic violation of rights of girls and women, that they cannot go to school, they cannot go to work, and there is a lot of challenges for these girls and women on that country. That is another problem that nowadays women in my country are facing. So I can say like that country. Then the other problem here in Canada, because I'm engaged in community activity and other things here in Canada, I notice most of these women who moved here in Canada, they are all carrying all those issues with them. And then for the men to change themselves to this new setting is another challenge. So they feel that they know that 911 is a number that to call or complain or make a complaint, a file about any domestic issues, and then they are scared of that. But man, to change to 360 from being a macho in their own country to be a normal person, not acting harshly with the family, with the women and girls, etc., is maybe it is a not realistic expectation. And you know, for this in this country, working with the newcomer men is very, very important. And most of the cases that I'm aware, they are ending to the police. They are separating from their children, and all whatever you name it, because of the attitude they raise with. So I don't want to generalize this, but there are many cases that the families are falling apart, and some of these men become more arrogant and become more complex with their personality and depressed. I just recently learned in my neighborhood that 2 men, they did suicide. They fall from the high-rise buildings, they did suicide and throw themselves down and kill themselves. And this is because they cannot take the pressure, you know, the pressure of changing when we want to change maker. So we started a slogan, maybe it is about 15 years or maybe more than that, E for she. This is a UN slogan that E should be for she. So we made of communities of men and women, and we cannot build a country of women and country of men. That is not realistic. Like as a mother, Martha is mother of 2 sons, and me too, and many of us, we have male family members. So this is not realistic. So how we work toward making a society that men be more human rather than being a macho and be in opposition position. So there are certain things that I will stop, and then we will come back and we can talk more about it.
Okay, thank you so much, Mirta. I can't tell if I've actually unmuted. It takes a minute. And it's interesting to see the connection too between what you're talking about with the pressures that men face in, moving into a new culture, a new society, new world, and how that impacts them. And then thinking about the work that New Leaf was talking about, and the fact that we don't equip men with the tools to be able to, do that kind of that self-reflection and support each other and reach out for support, and how that's so harmful to men and also to the women and the gender diverse folks in their lives, because often the only tool they're given is violence. So I want to start another round of the circle, and I want to start us off with just a very general prompt, which is just asking you to think about the role that stories play in your work within gender-based violence, and maybe the different types of stories that you see in the work that you do. So Mirta, with that, I'll start with you.
We call it stories, but really they are experiences that we have gone through. These are lived experiences that women and some men have lived through. The reason that they were not told before is because they were not believed, is because that as society we want to cover this up. It never happened. It's just something that I hate the idea that what it happens in one house stays in that house. It is our community, so it doesn't have to be that way. And our children learn by seeing and hearing. That's how we learn. Like, we learn everything we need to know in life by 2 years old. We learn how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, and how to share. And then the rest, they observe you. What do you do? What the adults do? What is the right thing? What is not a right thing? And they want to belong. So that's what children learn, these behaviors. That I want to be part of this, and I don't want to be in the receiving end. And that's what is happening in some of our communities. It is also one of the populations that are suffering the most in the gender violence is the transgender community. It is that everybody in society believes, I will rephrase it, everybody in society who believes they are superior and they are the ones who are the normal in the society have the right to harm, have the right to harass, and have their purpose is that you will feel so afraid that you will disappear, literally, or emotionally and mentally. And all these situations have a consequence that if you don't talk about it, you internalize it. And that causes health problems, that causes mental health issues. There's ways that the human brain and humans cope with it. There's parts of us that we don't dare to share because other people are going to tell you you're crazy. No, you're not crazy. You're surviving. You're the strong one who made it out of all this. And we have to find spaces and forums where you can share openly. This is my story. This is what I went through. This is what is happening. The reality of things that are hidden. And yeah, some people tell you, oh, you're always full of doom and gloom and you're always pulling everything in the negative side. Well, if you think that's negative, then don't do it. That's what I tell them. If you think that this is doom and gloom, why is it that you need to harm people? Because it's power over, and that silences us. When we've been in the, I think that the percentage of women is really high. The ones who been in the, they've been attacked and they've been abused and they've been controlled. They're verbally abused. Like, because we women are considered less in society. We are sexualized, we are made an object, and so we don't count. But we are the ones who hold the world. We know our cultures, we know our beliefs, and the reason that they want to silence us is because they don't want us to talk about this. It is so important that we share. It is so important also for men who will learn how to be abusive to say, okay, I don't know any other way. And this is why I do it. And if they say that, I have seen other men who say, "Go, don't say that." Why not? The honesty that needs to come up. It just I don't know the right word to use, but it is that we want to portray that we're perfect, we're nice, we have everything going really well in our lives, and no, not all of us. If one of us is behind, one of us is abused, we are not making it. We are not that nice bunch of people, happy go lucky. So we need to think about the ones that we've been leaving behind and hear with our heart. Because when you hear with your heart, you don't judge. If you hear with your mind, then you start to go, why is she saying it? How is she saying it? What happened? When did it happen? Tell me more. Just listen. Just listen and just hear what that person has to tell you. Because usually that person knows what it needs to happen. And at that moment, that's the first step that we move on from being a victim to somebody who's thriving in life. I think that's what is important, to talk about our own stories and personal experiences. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mirta. Oh, I'm a little frozen again. There we go. And I think that's great. And I want to pass it over to Heather and Bree and Paula to hear about stories and the work that you do.
A lot of men, we hear them talk, and a lot of men were raised to have this entitlement and privilege, and they even are taught as little boys not to cry, not to show your emotion, not to talk. One of the things we do here is a lot of our fellows are either referred here through probation because they've been charged with an assault, or through child protection. There's been unhealthy relationships in their homes, and so they've had to intervene and changes happen. So we get a lot of those referrals. And the first thing that we talk about when they come in is we talk about accountability. And that's something like, they're like, well, yeah, I called her a name, but I called her a bitch, but she was being a bitch. And it's like, whoa, you did that in front of your children. Imagine what they think, how they feel, what the impact of that is on them, So we talk about that, and we're very blunt here. We're very direct. We are respectful. We don't have a waiting list. We want every guy to come here that can. We accommodate it. And one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of men seeing what abuse is, even if it's little, even if it's the silent treatment, little things that how it impacts their relationship and why their partner left. We do not reunite anybody here. If his partner left, it's because, and she decided it's over, then it's over. So we help him figure that out and not try to stalk her and not try to find her on Facebook or creep on her. You know, we really show them what stalking is. You know, well, I just went by there. You know, it's like, that was not okay. So we help them with the process of court. Just in here, as far, we don't advocate and go out anywhere with them, but we work on them with the situation that they're in, why they're in that situation, and who made the choice to drink and get in trouble. You know, they're 100% responsible for everything they do. And it's very powerful for them to figure it out, to start getting it. And like we have pretty big groups sometimes, and they really help each other. And we have guys in there that we call veterans that have been there, done that. They've done horrific things. They have figured it out. They are an advocate now for these guys because they've been there, done that. And it's really neat coming from them as opposed to us telling them. You know, so they really support each other. And what we're finding now is we're getting a lot more self-referrals, guys talking to other guys and saying, like, this place is awesome, you know, because they're going home and they're practicing what we've been talking about, how to deal with your anger, you know, like, you know, it's giving you signals right off the bat. So figure out that right away and learn to diffuse it and take a moment. You know, it's okay to walk away from a situation, but let them know you'll be right back. I need a minute. I'm really angry. I'm trying to process this. I'll be back. And so
I think teaching accountability is so big. You guys are so keen on like making sure that every guy in here understands what they need to be accountable for and holding them accountable for it. And then once they realize, it's like a whole different breakthrough. It just like continues to grow into something so magnificent where they're really putting in the work and they're really focusing on themselves and how better to treat women because they were called out on their stuff. They were told what they did wrong and now they have a clear understanding of what they did wrong.
Yeah.
And this wonderful lady has only been with us for 2 weeks. And this is her impression. Like, it's lovely here.
And
It's
I just wanted
amazing.
to kind of piggyback on that too. And then also with like the telling of the stories, the men that's usually how we find out kind of where it all came from, is they're telling their story of when they were children, and many of them have childhood trauma and they've experienced abuse, generally by their father. You know, so we listen, and Mircea, you said listen with your heart. And I think we, in our position, we definitely have to do that because we need to listen without judgment. Because men, they're feeling shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Sometimes they kind of skim the details, but that's a self-protection, I think, of that as well, as they don't want to feel that shame and guilt. But when they do finally take accountability, it kind of releases them in their story, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty magnificent watching them come into a group as well and then kind of like release and open up. And then when they leave, they're like a different person. Mm-hmm. They feel lighter.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think that like that's really important, I think, to recognize that piece, Heather, I think you said about, you know, when they tell their stories and it kind of helps release that shame and guilt. And also the fact that often they will skip over some of the details. And I find that interesting because being trained at a sexual assault center, we were told very similar things about survivors who disclose about their experiences of sexual violence, that they will often, you know, kind of skim over things as a way of testing the waters, as a way of sort of finding out how safe it is to go into that. So it's really interesting to think about the role that stories play in building trust and building relationships as you tell them and let them kind of unfold. So that thank you so much. Naji, I'd like to pass it over to you now.
When they hear about the impact of what their choice was or what their incident was on their children and their relationship, their partner, it's very profound for them.
Okay. It is a bit different. Something that is what we experience, like my work or the work activists do in our culture, both inside the country and even here in Canada. Telling the story by women is very easy. Women are talking. They're talking. Even they, as you mentioned, Ali, they sing song to express the pain, and there are so many ways to empty their hearts. But for men, because they are giving the privilege of power at home and in the society, the privilege of providers, and it is a pressure, but also at the same time it is a honor for them that they are the providers, like financial providers, protecting the family, honor of the family. So many honor killing cases, part of that culture, like, because they have to protect everything of the family. And the third thing is ego. Most of them are very egoistic. So even though they have pain, when they are sitting in the main circle, and I'm learning this through my male folk of the family, because they are not macho. They are machos, they are, but not machos. Like, because they are, as they raised in a more so-called civilized family, so they are no understanding, give hand to the work of the family, feel responsibility. But at the same time, when these all men making their own circle, then they accuse the system. They are put out their frustration by blaming everybody, including women, including women. Now they came to the new setting and they lost their values and they become bad women. And now, like, even the financial control of them in a way lost, because these women, when they are moving to this new setting, they start to go to language classes, they start to find job for themselves, like economically they want to be empowered. And some of them, they do a lot of threat to these women, and they are saying, if you go out, I will disconnect, I will divorce you. And divorce in certain culture is very taboo, and this is shame for women, and nobody blame men. Always women are blamed in divorce case. So because she become a bad woman, and the husband has no choice. So this is why he divorced her. So for that reason, there is a sort of a threatening situation, blackmailing situation. Especially the ones who sponsor them. Then they said, we will deport you, if they are a spouse sponsorship case, and that type of condition they ended up. And talking to and pulling out the story out of these men is not easy. Even the program you are doing, bringing men to talk about the problem, and part of changing attitude to and monitor the impact. Some of, like, me and we are experiencing, when we see the other community, the men are talking about the issues, but the men from that part of the world, they don't want to talk. They say everything is fine and we are fine. Even talking about the issue is a sort of a sign of weakness for a man. You cannot handle it. This is why you want to talk about it. You're a weak man, So most of these men, they want to be strong, show off that they are powerful, and so on. So these are certain challenges to make the story, the circle of storytelling, easy for the man. But for the women, how we frame our work, like my organization, Global Women's Network, and Women's Cycling Network, and other things, through the stories, we frame our policies, we suggest advocacy pieces and so on, to make impact on an overall community.
Thank you so much, Naja. And I think that's what I'm hearing that's really interesting from what you shared, is that piece about, like, the stories that we tell ourselves and the kind of, like, dominant cultural stories that are out there, that, for example, if there's divorce, that it's because, as Angelica was saying in the chat, we're incapable of keeping our family together, kind of thing. So that's another really interesting way to think about the way that they kind of interact. And I feel like I want to move us into thinking a little bit about some of the challenges. And I think, Naja, you've already kind of started there with us. some of the challenges and risks that we face when it comes to either sharing stories or hearing stories, being there to hear stories that relate to sexualized and gender-based violence. So Myrtle, I'll pass it to you.
That's a big question, and it's a really important one. The risks are many, because if we women talk about our own experiences of being abused or sexualized, you become the target of the whole community. At least that was for me when I left my husband, because I came out. Then for him it was a shame, because he was told that he was not man enough. That's why I was a lesbian. And for the men told me that they all spent time calling me, because they wanted to go out with me. They will teach me how to be a woman. Like that is so violent in a culture that it gives only a space, and they feel that, like you said, entitled, that they have the right to say the things, they have the right to put people down, and it affects the whole family. Like my two sons, they were in the middle of this, and how is it that they react? How is it that they go through all this? It is really that I lost also many friends because I left, and because I should have been the one who kept the family together. It doesn't matter if I was not happy with not being myself, not just respecting my own sexuality and who I am, but I should have stuck to it. My family didn't want to even talk to me because that was not me. What happened to me? I went to North America and they did something to me over there. So, and I was telling that the story that who I was since I was really young, and what my ideas were of having a family. They were so different than most of my immediate family. So, and for the men to say that they are abusive and they take responsibility and accountable for it, the others put them down. They think that, oh, you're a sissy, and the name calling starts, and we don't grow up with the culture of being in high school. Let me tell you. Because the point finger and the name calling, and that's how we keep each other down. So, and for a woman to tell their stories, like I said, I lost friends. Financially, I was not anywhere because I lost everything at that point. That is material, but I didn't lose myself. And not every woman is ready to do that. It's really hard. It's a really hard road to follow. And I can imagine, only because what I have seen from my ex-husband is that he didn't even want to go to work. He didn't want to have friends because he was facing these attacks from them. And it was a mess, because the society is so made into, this is the pattern that we need to follow. This is who you need to be, instead of giving everybody the safety and the protection to be themselves and to take accountability for the things that you don't know at the moment that they were wrong, and perhaps you want to learn but you don't dare. So it's a vicious circle that patriarchy is perpetrating in all of us. And if you talk about matriarchy, they go, oh, those women who want to control everything and they want to be men. No, we don't, really. We just want to be in a gentle world where everything is respectful. respectful and caring. So I don't know. Well, I do know, but it takes time and will to change the way that we think as a society, the way that we think, and not being afraid. But for that, when you're not afraid to say what you think and who you are, you need to have backing. You need to have somebody, a safety net that you can fall on, and they have your back, and they love you whatever, without judgment. So, like I think that when I left and everything that happened and all my life, I thought, why did I do that? And how is it that I made it? I don't know. I think I made it because I needed to make it. And I did what I needed to do. Probably if I go through again, I will do it, but I don't have words to explain how I did it, how I made it. There were a few people who supported me. And for those, I'm really grateful. And the person that I'm really grateful for all that, it was my grandmother that at a young age told me that you can be anybody you want to be, and don't let anybody break your spirit. And I think that it was ingrained in me. So, and that's what I tell people. Look, you are yourself. You have value. You matter. Because as soon as you think that I'm going to tell my story and people are not going to care about me, I don't belong, then you think you don't matter. And that's when you go, no, I won't do it. Because my work on a shelter for abused women, the women come back and come back and come back. And now I'm seeing the adult women who were little girls when I was working in the shelter coming to shelters themselves being abused. So the cycle continues. And why? Because in this society, we don't have the supports. We don't have anything that will tell you you can make it. It's okay. And you're not at fault and you're not faulty. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you so much, Mirta. And I'll pass it over to Heather and Paula and Bree from New Look to sort of think. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on the challenges and the risks when it comes to, sharing stories.
Oh, I have to thank you for sharing your story, because you're very amazing. And because just that one little thing that your grandmother told you is you accepted it and you lived it. You made change. And sometimes you don't know how you did it, but you did it, because that's not where you needed to be. You needed to be somewhere else and who you were. Thank you. Yeah.
I was enjoying stories.
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
thinking, like, with some of the challenges, maybe the stories, just thinking of the men, that maybe some of the challenges for them also would be, like, in their case, if they disclosed too much, maybe to us at some points, because there's that sort of that fine line of trying to help them and listen to them, and then you have to also think about the safety of their partner, their children, all that. Yeah, so that's sort of the thing that I was thinking of when it came to, like, challenges. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys can think
Sometimes
of.
I don't even think they understand the severity of the
No.
scenario until they recap it, and then they're like, oh shit, like that happened to me, or this
Yeah.
was traumatic and I can't believe I'm going through this. Or they don't realize what they did or what they need to take accountability for until they start right from the get-go and go back to childhood, and
Yeah.
it's all ego-based.
And thinking too, I think of the impact and the harm that they cause to their children and their partners. As we explained, like, boys and girls growing up in an abusive household, the boys are more likely to be abusers and the girls are more likely to be victims. So just them thinking about their own children and how they're impacting them, not only causing harm now, but how that could impact them in their futures is, I think, a big thing with their stories.
I think sometimes the guys have a hard time opening up around the other guys because they're like, that's a sense of safety for them, or they think there's going to be judgment, or like maybe they aren't as tough because they went through this traumatic event compared to the other guy. I think that makes it hard sometimes to grow.
It does, and a lot of folks struggle coming here. It's not. I am so excited for every man that walks in this door because it is an opportunity for you to figure yourself out. You know, there's nothing better than happiness. But if you don't know what it looks like, even a healthy relationship, they don't know how to get it. So just showing them the little things and going over their stories. And we did a thing one time for men to do their journey. And they wrote from whatever pivotal time it was. Usually it was when they graduated from high school or whatever, and then their life started. And they draw their pattern of their life. Up is good and down is when they're struggling or whatever. And it's a very profound thing for them to look at their life and see that there's a cycle, that there's a pattern with this, and that it's their responsibility to break that cycle. And the guys here talking, it's not an easy thing for them to do at first. And so for the first two groups, they don't have to say too much. They can just absorb. And it doesn't take long. Many of them talk in that, even that first night, because somebody their story resonated with them and they don't feel like they're alone. And you know, like Heather said, these guys feel shame and guilt and they just don't know how to stop that cycle. So they are intrigued by little things that we say that are like, okay, I did do that.
A lot of them, I don't think, even realize that they went through a traumatic event until you guys, like, do we go over it with them? And they're like, oh, that was abuse. They didn't even know what abuse was or gaslighting or anything like that. So they're learning a lot about themselves too.
I think that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that's really, really incredible to think too about the how we process and understand our own stories. And like if we're not given space to do that, how quickly, like I even just think about like at the end of the week, if you reflect on what you did at the end of the week, you can come to, the Friday and sort of go like, oh, I did nothing this week. But if you actually sit down and go like, well, this is what I did and didn't do, you can discover like, oh, I did so much. And it can, thinking about that on your life scale can be so profound. So Naja, I want to pass it to you, the same sort of question around challenges and risks when it comes to sharing stories.
Well, actually, I already, as you said, I started to say that most of the men don't talk. When they want to talk, they want to dictate, order, and in a way guide the smaller circle, even the bigger circle. If they go to the society, they act in the same way. For that reason, it is not easy for them. They always like if they want to say something, they want to say, so what? So what? Kids are, this is the terminology most of the children are using here. So what? So they are expecting for any expression, any statement they make, a feedback, what will be my benefit. So they are very cautious of sharing, telling, even, they're not expressing their emotions. Some of them, especially, I want to be focused with about the men who come from a war zone, like, the people who are experiencing conflict, or the people who they are immigrant workers. So they only have one thing, making money. The other thing is escaping from trauma. And now they are in a different context. Why we should tell this? What will be the deal out of this? And they do not trust women. Like in certain culture, they said, this is a sort of a proverb. If you say it, if you don't want to that your secret be exposed to others, don't share your secret with a woman, even your wife or your daughter, whatever. So they are in their brain, they are predominated with certain values to keep the power, because gender is a power relation. So definitely they prefer to keep the power. And if they tell this certain things and come out of their mouth, share their realities, then their position become weak, you know. So for that reason, not easy for them to express. The other challenges, I don't like for my Global Women's Network storytelling circle, the intention is to bring the stories, put it in action and policies, to make it as a general issue and bring change in the society. For that purpose, we have to do it. But then it is touching the main dominated society status quo. So they don't want to shake that. Comfort zone is for them to just be comfortable. Come out of the work, have a glass of tea in front of them, relax, and if they are they you ask them a bit of more from them, then you are pushing on them, put pressure on them, and we change. We were good people and now we are not good people. So I am just talking about the immigrant to Canada, or any newcomers who have a very different situation. Some of them are very open, they are very feeling comfortable telling their story, telling their reality, making change, ready to make change, but not necessarily all of them. So this is what I want to say. Storytelling has a positive impact, and as well as some challenging situation. How to bring out the reality of a person is not easy. I like the idea of making the map of your life, you know. That is a good idea to make them to think about it. Or self-actualization, expressing about themselves, etc. These are certain technique that needs to be used. But first of all, trust building is the most important thing. You know, if you do not build the trust with these people, and do not show a benefit to them, you know, why we are doing this for you, you know, what is the benefit for you, and then changing that materialistic or financial benefit to value benefit, to a safe environment, family environment, and living in peace and unity and help each other. So certain soft skills also needs to be integrated with all these harsh part of the relation or sexual based violence.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And again, I think you have a gift for sort of bringing us to the next prompt. I think this will be our last prompt, because I'm noticing we have about 15 minutes, 20 minutes left. So I want to encourage us to think as you know, support networks, whether personally or professionally, as advocates, as family members and friends and colleagues. What are our responsibilities when it comes to hearing and holding and sharing those stories in different contexts? So Mirta, I'll pass it to you to start.
I think the most important thing is just to create that trust and find out what is that person needs from us. And most of the times is that you keep that confidential, because if you start talking on their behalf, you take the power away from them, and that doesn't help. So just be there and support, and show them that you can have control over your life and take the little steps. You tell me this, I won't repeat it unless you ask me to, and I'll believe you. The first thing is I believe you, because we've been told so many times that the stories that women tell, or the things that women experiences when they share that they've been abused, that we created it for attention. Like I have found in the 41 years that I serve as a volunteer, there was nobody of those women that I saw that they invented it, that they created the story to call attention. They were scared. They were not willing to talk. They were just totally closed off. And as a society, I think that we need to I wish that it will be the day that when a woman is sexually assaulted, we don't have to go through the rape kit because we have to prove that we were assaulted. So why do we do that? It's because it's a doubt. And when I don't know if anybody has been through it. I have accompanied women when they go through it. It's so intrusive. It's so, it doesn't respect her as a woman. So I think that is really traumatic. And my job was to let them know this is available. This is it's available to you, and it's your decision to do it. But when it comes to that sexual assault kit, it's degrading again. So I warned them. I said, this is really intrusive. This is something that you have to be prepared for. And at one point, from the line, they told me, you shouldn't tell them that. And I go, yes, I should, because I don't want them to be traumatized again and have somebody else being so crossing the boundary of intimacy because it's so non-respectful. Even though the person can be really caring, the nurse or the doctor who's doing it can be really caring, and police need to be present. Like what? That turned my head around, and I never wanted the police there. So I asked the woman, I said, do you want them there? No, I don't. And they insisted and insisted until that was one of our gains here in Regina, that no, the cops wouldn't be present. And it was enough, bad enough. And the courage of this woman to go through it because they needed to find out that, yeah, I believe, yeah, I'm going to take this person to be accountable, which sometimes this guy will get scot-free because of whatever reasons. And they're smart, though. Abusers are smart. They're not stupid. They're really, really smart. And they know how to manipulate the women, too. So that's the other one. The other thing that when somebody tells you, no, but it was my fault. No, it's not your fault. Nobody likes to be assaulted. Nobody likes to be, what we call it, the old term, rape. Nobody likes to be harassed. So, yeah, it's not your fault. It happens that he decided to abuse you and control you that way, and that's his decision. And don't take the blame, because that's what I meant before by internalizing. We always go the tapes in our heads, but maybe I did this, maybe I go for it, maybe if I would have worn that, maybe if I didn't have that drink, maybe if I didn't go to the bar, maybe if I didn't go to that party. So those are things that we need to reinforce on the people and the women who report, and they tell us that no, it is you who did the best to survive, and no, there's nothing that you're responsible for at that moment. That was the responsibility of the person who abused you. So that's one of the things that we need to get into everybody's mind, and thinking that that's what it needs to happen. And that's my puppy having a voice in the background. So
You're telling his story.
yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Mirta. Yeah, the difference between starting from a place of doubt and a place of belief is so powerful. So Heather and Paula and Bree, I want to pass it to you as well.
When a man has to call himself, if a client wants to come here, they have to call themselves. Their mother can't call, their partner can't call, the doctor can't call. They have to phone themselves. And so from there, we get some information from them, and they are treated with absolute respect, because we want them to come, and we care for these guys. And we tell them that sometimes when we ask hard questions. It's like, we do this because we care enough about you to, for you to hear it. but we build trust with them, and we're respectful to them. You know, they matter to us, and that's one of the biggest things that gets them to talk. And we have guys that we call veterans. They're the guys that have been here, done that, and we call them veterans because of that. And they're in a really good place, and they've been in a really bad place, you know, and they have made changes. So we call them our veterans, and they are really good to tell their stories because guys can see, you know, where he came from and where he is now and what the possibilities are for themselves. You know, like I will tell the guys, I'll say, if my husband, we've been together for 22 years, if he called me a bitch, I think I would faint. I think that I don't know what I would do. And they're like, wow, like,
What a concept.
that's not normal, is it? Yes, that is normal, guys, you know. So we do challenge them, and we respect them too, to learn to figure things out for themselves. They win. If they figure it out, they win, you know.
I was gonna say too, like when it comes to like support, I think they learn how to support each other because they often do in group. So they're learning like to listen and to talk. So it's both sides of communication. And then also if we feel that they need a resource, say if somebody's talking with their mental health, then we'll kind of talk about how they can get help for that. So we try to provide resources if we see the need for that, to connect them with that. But I think that's about it. Yeah, I can think of right now. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I think that's really, really important to think about especially when we're thinking about men who have harmed people and who have committed abuse. I think often one of the reasons we feel like we have to start from a place of doubt when we talk to survivors, when we listen to survivors, is because there's such a hard line. You know, if you hurt someone, you are irredeemable. You are a monster, and how detrimental that is to the men who are human beings who have the capacity for change and accountability, and to the women who are then re-traumatized over and over again because they're not believed. So I think that's really, really beautiful. You know, taking that responsibility to challenge people to take accountability and also supporting them through that process. So Nadia, I want to pass it to you. Same question, you know, our responsibilities when it comes to hearing and holding space for stories. And I think that will bring us just about to the end, and then we'll just do a closeout.
I always say that this conflict, this action of violence, start from families. And sometimes because there is many elements, many provokers, including financial. Sorry. Sometimes it is jealousy among women. The way we raise our children, sometimes, like in my culture, if you have a cousin, you are in competition with the cousin, you know. Sometimes it is very good friendly relation. Sometimes your cousin is doing this, why you are not to the same level, you know. So this type of unhealthy situation we are creating, this starting from this core family, small circle, then replicated to the society, and this is how it is going on and on. And now we are witness of the global crisis. My country should be first, and your country should be the last. Unfortunately, this situation is some of the elements that is making tough the progress, human development progress. We have international laws, we have human rights declaration, we have convention on the elimination of violence against women. We have so many beautiful treaties that sorry, is written, but how to implement it in action, how to give awareness about this to the common people. It needs a lot of investment and commitment by the state. I will say that. Like if government is responsible to implement is sustainable development goal of the country, and then one of the article is gender equality, for instance, and then this is gender equality across all the sectors. So then this situation will not occur, like starting from family, that we try to get promote uh, coexistence and take caring and love and affection for each other, instead of promoting jealousy, promoting hate, like starting hate from home, and then I hate this person because I hate it. This type of attitude we can see in the society. So we all and I will go back to what Merta said. We should unite it. All women should unite it. All women should unite it. All women should unite it. And we should keep the small differences we have among each other. The way she take care of uh, the dog, or the way she take care of the way dressing, or the way cutting the hair, etc., etc. We are as a woman, we are very much attached to small things rather to big strategic things that impact all of us. And if united, we will make a big difference in our smaller circle, bigger circle, and also in our countries and globally. And thank you for allowing us to express the important. We did the circle. We did our stories here too. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And you brought it beautifully full circle, because I think where you ended up with that piece about, thinking of the home and responsibilities in the family circle connected so much for me with what Mirta started off with, talking about how, you learn those lessons so early on in your life, how to engage with people, how to treat people with respect. So that was really beautiful. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who joined us. We have just a couple of minutes left, so I just wanted to offer the opportunity to any of our participants, any of our circle participants, if there's anything that you wanted to add, anything that you wanted to share with folks before we wrap up. This would be a beautiful time.
I just want to thank you for your stories. That is not, that's not an easy thing to do all, you don't know us, but we appreciate that you opened up and told us your stories.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all a beautiful evening. And for those of you who are sticking around for any subsequent sessions, I hope you enjoy them greatly.